Um, all right, week two recap with Oren Glickman and Jack Turrell. We are not in the same state right now. Jack Turrell is in sunny Los Angeles.
I'm in Los Angeles in my home with Papa Brad Turrell, who's watching Nati on his birthday. They're going on a granddad grandson walk right now, which is really cute. And Nati's got a little thing, and they'll be back. It was nice of them to do that, so we could do what we do best here: crack open a cold one, a Miller Lite, throw on my 4th of July Independence Day Sweet Home Alabama tank top, and talk about my favorite summer activity. It ain't cornhole. It ain't barbecue grilling. It ain't country music. Those are all good number twos. But number one is TABC basketball.
So, Jack, I think a lot of fans have questions for you right now because generally the way it works is you go on vacation once your season's over.
Well, the season doesn't end until September, friend. And every year I miss one game for last year I missed the Sixers game. I'm gonna miss 4th of July. My family goes really hard. If you follow me on social media, if you know anything about my mom, you know that this holiday for us is like Pesach, Sukkot for others. It's almost a Yontif, 4th of July. My grandfather was a 20-year veteran. We have a big family reunion, so the red, white, and blue it's right up there, right, with some of the most important holidays in the Turrell family stratosphere. So I'm gonna miss that 4th. This time around, look, single dad, you got to take the vacations and the dates when you can. I was able to kind of negotiate this trip with these days and booked it when I got a yes. I didn't want to go back on it. And without kind of realizing that I'd be missing more than I expected. But I think the Lakers, I am hoping that by the time we have released the podcast that they have agreed to the switch. We have all the teams down. So I think I'm only going to miss one game, maybe two. I think the Rockets game I'm also hoping gets rescheduled because July 3rd is just an un-American time to play basketball. I'm more than happy to, by the way, putting it out there, and I'm sure Burry is too, pay to rent out City on 4 in Teaneck. We could bring a scoreboard. We'll bring the refs. We'll do this on another time. July 3rd is just an un-American holiday to play basketball.
Eric.
So I think that for this Rockets game, let's reschedule it. JT only misses one game, at most two, and we'll be all right. And if you want to start off, I'm just tremendously proud of my team from how we played. But yeah.
No, we definitely missed you this week. We hope you're enjoying yourself out on the West Coast. It's just so funny, even nights when the Kings are not in action, you get the average fan like a Hank Reinhart who comes into the gym and he's like, "Where's Jack?" I'm thinking like, yeah,
My presence was missed. I appreciate that. But believe me, my dad invited me. It's funny. My dad and my brother, they went to a Dodger game and they're like, "You want to come?" I said, "No. I'm watching TABC ball. Like, I'll see you guys later." I don't
you can't multitask. You can't watch like a Clayton Kershaw pitch and watch a Burry Klein free throw at the same time.
I was too busy watching, that Spurs team looked like the 80s Lakers. I was too busy watching some down to the wire, great TABC ball. That day I was 3 hours straight. They said, "Jack, there's something wrong with you." I was like, "I'm loving TABC summer ball. It means you got to screw loose and you can keep the toolbox. I want to keep this puppy rattling." So I'm excited about to get into it. And I haven't watched all of it, so I'm gonna parlay some of these games that I missed to you, Oren, and then the games that I saw, and some things I'll give my take as we get into it.
All right, so why don't we do it? I'm going to share my screen now. And for some of our viewers, I think they're going to be confused because we did have week 3 games last night. But I think it's only fair that you can't give a week 3 review with only, 6 teams in action.
Well, sure. But I will discuss.
Yes, we can definitely discuss what unfolded last night.
So there were 3 teams that played on week 3, and I will discuss what I saw in week 2 that actually parlayed what happened into week 3.
Right. So I even mentioned in the intro here, there's going to be a weirder edition of the power rankings since some teams have already played their 3rd game of the season due to only 2 nights of games the following week. So I did everything I could to try to block out last night. And, we will discuss what happened last night. But
well, obviously this needs to change.
Right, because you have the Pistons as a top seed, and they lost last night.
I think, and the Heat beat them without. Well, I want to start on the Heat. Can I start on the Heat?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, they went 2-0 without Justin Hode, and last night they won over the top-rated Pistons without Justin Hode and Benny Tuckman.
Who subbed for Tuckman?
JJ.
Who subbed for Justin?
No sub. They played with 5 guys the entire game. It was JJ Zackheim, Yaron Schneider.
They allowed JJ to play? I thought
yeah.
First round picks, you have to sub for a second round pick.
It's a long story, but they were really in a bind. We made an emergency executive decision to allow JJ to play. And while JJ was significant in the game and he carried the team, other players stepped up. Like even Mikey Kahan had like a big 3 at the top of the key that was key in the win.
Look,
Jacob Wedgell played well. Mikey Mitt dominant. JJ made the players around him better, you know.
JJ Zach, I mean, no joke. He's one of the 5 best players in this league. I'll bury it. But I am not gonna give my flowers to JJ on this win because he's a top 5 player easily. I'm giving my flowers to the Heat and the players in the Heat because it's
and how about Schneider? He was kind of the de facto captain with Justin out of commission.
They got him. Justin finally has a great Justin Hode team, right? To Justin, like to play with Jack Turells, like all superstar players need to really be first round pick players need to be on teams that fit with what they do to maximize it. Like obviously you could throw me, you could throw Justin, you could throw us on any team, but certain types of teams, Jack Reinhart, certain types of teams enhance. And with this, so for me, put me with shooters who like to pass screen away, don't need the ball in their hands to be effective, catch and shoot guys, defensive guys, and we're gonna roll. We're gonna go. That's my best version of a team where I'm the center, right, of the universe, whether that's in the post or on the wing, and you're surrounding with shooters. You can't double team, and if you do, I'm gonna find the guys, and if you don't, I'm gonna score. That's my best version. Best version of a Ari Mitnick team is surrounded with burly, strong guys, and it's a muscle fight, and let's get it going. I think this is the best version of a Justin Hode team where you don't have guys, you have just guys who could carry the load on offense, that you don't rely on him. You don't rely so much on Justin to have to be the de facto distributor. No distributing. He has all these bigs that could pass and score and rebound and defend. And he could just do his thing, which is an elite score when they need it most. And they've just proven they can get dubs in big games without him. And now he's going to come back as his Kevin Durant type.
Right.
And just be a scorer on a team that has it all. And now Justin could be like, all right, look, this is my team. They're going to carry us to 3 quarters. And now you haven't even seen me do my thing. I've been pacing myself. Now it's the 4th quarter. I'm going to score 6 straight baskets, put this game out of reach. Game's over. That's a tough team because you're going to be spending all your energy. If you're scouting them, you're going to focus on Justin. Wow, we're going to stop Justin. I'm putting my best defender on Justin. I'm scheming for Justin. But Justin doesn't need to score for this team to be good. And for this team to score. And what you're not going to scheme it with a player like Justin on the team and a player like Tuckman. You're not scheming for Mikey and Schneider. But guess what? You don't scheme for Mikey and Schneider. They're going to score and do damage to your team. They're really good. They got good moves. Mikey's proven. Schneider's proving. Mikey's proven. Schneider's proving. He's coming into his best shape he's been in yet, and he looks great. You got to watch out for the Heat. If we were to redo this, I'm putting Heat at 1 or 2.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking about the fact, too, that think about their Monday win over the Celtics. I know the Celtics aren't one of the stronger teams, but the Celtics have been dealing with injuries to their defense. But, it was crazy. Like Jordan Hode was about to suit up for the Heat. And then 5 minutes before tip, it was Knicks that he wasn't allowed to play. So they had Joseph Siegel play instead. And it didn't phase them. They still won the game.
I want to give props to Benny Tuckman on that game because we had been doing clinics together. And I taught him some secret moves that were taught to me by Kiki Vandeweghe, who taught those moves to Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash.
And Ryan Turell.
And these are the secrets. They're secrets. And I taught him, and Nolman, we just did a workout. I did some We did some work, and that's what I do, right? And he was doing all of them. Jab, fake, cross, attacking the outside foot. He was just scoring left and right on whoever was guarding him. And I saw him use some of the moves that we had worked on together, and the moves he kind of showed me some moves too. So I love that. I love when tJack dads get together, and I don't know if he's a dad, but he will be at some point, I'm sure. I love when tJack old men get together and just teach each other the game of basketball. He showed me a few things. Nolman showed me. I showed them. It was great, and I saw him penalizing teams for guarding them a certain way. They're going to be great, the Heat. And then on the flip side, to talk about the Celtics.
Well, the Pistons first, right?
Well, they played the Celtics first, right?
Right.
So I'll talk about the Celtics.
The Celtics also played last night. They're down to
Yeah, I saw that final score. They played the Knicks, right?
Yeah, they only scored 25 points the entire game.
They can't score. It's a problem. This was a problem we saw at the beginning of the season, and the reason I love that.
Yeah, I don't think Halpert's been playing the game we know he's capable of playing.
Well, I don't think Halpert is a one, honestly, yet. I mean, go prove it to me. I think he's capable of being a one. He just hasn't been that. Like, I think last year where he had his breakout year, he had
He's coming off the YU year. Now he's not coming off the YU year.
Not even that. You don't lose it that drastically in 1 year. He had Justin and Benny, and Benny's a great passer, and Justin draws a lot of attention, so he could just kind of be there as the 2 or the 3 and be a stud. But as the one option with teams scheming for you, I want more. I don't know. Is he? Can he? The reason I love this team so much is that they're a perfect team that I would want to be on. That Ari Mitnick, I'm sure, would want to be on. That JJ Zakheim would love to be on. That Zevi Samit would love to be on. That Mason Wedgel would love to be on. Akiva Gottlieb, Hami Alexander. Those guys with that supporting cast would be undefeated. Jack Reinhart would love to be on. They'd be undefeated. But they're missing that engine, that catalyst, that guy that they have a lot of great supporting players. Moshe Cohen, Yoni Levine, great players.
And Chesner still has yet to play his first game.
All right, man, maybe Chesner could be that guy. I'm not sure if he is, but maybe he could be that guy. I mean, Gartenberg looked great in their game. He is close to that tier of that guy, but obviously I think he's a pick and roll guy. He needs a guy to set him up.
I think Gartenberg got his best game of the season on Monday, and it wasn't even with his team.
Gartenberg's great. He's a great player. He's a top player in this league, but he's great. I love Gartenberg.
I think he
had a great game. He didn't get.
I think a lot of people are saying once the Celtics team gets a full game under their belt with Chesner, with Cohen, with Levine, because keep in mind Cohen was also out last night. Once they're all together, you'll see a totally different team. That's what
I hope so. Right now, they can defend great. They just can't score, and they need to be able to score. The name of the game is basketball, right? You got to put the ball in the basket, and they need to do more stuff like the Bucks.
Right, they were just not making shots last night. Levine got clean looks and was just not hitting him.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And the Knicks are tough. We all knew that the Knicks were tough.
Yeah,
and they won both their games convincingly, correct?
Yeah, I think they won by a combined score of maybe 200 to 40.
Yeah, the Knicks are great, and granted, they had an easier schedule, probably the easiest schedule other than the Bulls game to start. I think the East is lighter, especially at the bottom, and we're going to go through it.
Langer, I think, is the best rebounding tool in this league.
He's not a better rebounder than May, but he's a good rebounder. He ain't a better rebounder than May.
Well, we won't
be the first to tell you, because
we won't be able to see that potential battle until the finals, because you guys.
We've battled Langer and I many times, and I love Langer. He ain't a better rebounder than me, but he's a great rebounder. He's a better shooter than me. He's better at the fake right, go left. You do that better than me. Can't rebound better than me.
All right.
He ain't the better rebounder than me, but he's an excellent shooter. He's a great rebounder. That's why I was disappointed that they didn't just punish Post, because he's a very difficult guy to guard. He's a great mid-range shooter. He has moves. He has up fakes. I don't think he's a better rebounder than Simon Brookheim either, by the way.
Uh-huh.
I think me and Simon are the best 2 rebounders in this league. Langer 3. Klein, Gartenberg 4-5. Like I got to go through the list. Ari Mitnick, Moskovich, obviously up there. Stevie
Right.
Cole up there, but I think me and Brukeem are 1 and 2 in some order. Yeah, Langer's great. The Knicks are tough. So Celtics got to just learn to put the ball. They got to find out a way to get the ball in the basket, run some sets, get some high lows, like get an out of bounds play. They got to get something together.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right, so the Spurs are number 2. The Spurs totally annihilated the Suns the other night. Aaron Heller was silenced. This Spurs team is so complete with so many weapons. You have no idea.
Yeah, no, I watched them. I look scared. I'm never really nervous about a team ever. Every time I watch them, I'm looking with a pen and a pad and like, what are their weaknesses? Where are their points? What's their Death Star hole? Right? Like, what's that shot in the Death Star that if we hit it with the missile, they implode? They don't really have it. Right? They're kind of a really complete team.
They look so good without Ariel Friedman, and they looked even 10 times better with Ariel Friedman.
Ariel Friedman's a baller, and they're playing together. They don't have any weaknesses in their starting five. That's the one team that I'm nervous about when we play them, and I'm lucky.
And one of my top 5 players of the week from that team, you're going to be surprised to see who it is once I scroll down. It's not Friedman. It's not Leo. It's not Rubenstein. It's going to be someone who you didn't expect.
Well, now I'm excited to see it. No, look, the Spurs were clicking on all cylinders. They were attacking the basket. All 5 guys looked good. They were running the length of the floor. They were getting layups. And Joe Rosen looked incredible. Spencer Rubenstein looked incredible. Friedman was hitting shots. They were dominant. They won in a dominating fashion. Having said that,
Suns are without Goldberg, apparently, who's all their size.
He is all their size. He hurt, and that hurts them. And Brian Shore did say that length was their problem. I think if I'm playing the Spurs, I have to play defensively like Giannis. I got to just be a Giannis. I got to be all over the court, blocking shots and chasing rebounds and, lean on my team to score. If that's how I would look at if we played them. They don't have any one singular guy that pops out as like, look out. They just have 5 great players, good players, really good players. It may be Rubenstein or Spencer Rubenstein is that one singular guy. He's actually really good, but he's not. Yeah, no, they're really good. They're really good.
Let me ask you this, because I think everyone.
But can I say something? I think we didn't think this, not to knock the Suns because they did beat the Warriors.
I don't know. I think
I gotta say,
I think we were right.
Has their schedule been easy? The Spurs
beat a 1-0 Suns team, and their first win was over who did they beat in the first game? Oh, Zevi Salmon and Dan Pelayoff.
Yeah, so we've all agreed that they're the bottom team, and then they beat us.
Rockets look better in week 2. We'll discuss that.
Well, we will discuss it. Let's discuss it. But the Spurs right now for me are the 1 seed.
Let me ask you
the Pistons. Let me finish this. The Pistons. Okay. I think the Spurs are everything we thought the Pistons would be. The Pistons have trouble scoring and had trouble moving the ball. They have just been beating teams on sheer talent. They haven't been scouting. They haven't been scheming, which is fine. You can do that to a point. But they've just been beating teams on talent, and they ran into a team that was just almost as talented, but schemed and planned and brought it and cared. So, I think for Spurs, for the way they look like the 80s Lakers, they got to be 1 for me. They're number 1, and they're the team that I'm most afraid of right now, other than maybe the Bulls. Bulls are probably number 2 for me. But okay, Spurs are number 1. So let's move on. You were saying.
Well, I had a question for you. I think you said you had some concerns about the Pistons because you thought like too many cooks in the kitchen, with the Spurs, I think it was universal. I think it was around the league. We just didn't know about them. Do you think that fact has helped them? The fact that we didn't know so much about this team going in?
I think it might have helped them in week 1. But by now, if you don't know about them, that's your problem as a captain and as a team planner. If you don't know about the Spurs, you don't have that excuse anymore because now we have 2 games of tape. When you know what they do, you have to come in with a game plan. You can't just use the excuse, we don't know about him anymore. A, and B, I think that's cheapening what they've actually been able to do and what they've been able to get done. They've been a tremendous force to be reckoned with until this point. And they no, they look good. They look good.
I think they're hoping that they get a close game soon because they're not going to want to be blowing out teams right and left heading into.
Well, they're going to get a close game soon. They're in the tougher conference, and they have some really good teams.
And you'll be in action for that one, right?
I will be in town. I don't want to say anything about what we would do, but I think obviously we're a really tough team. We put points on the board and we defend. And we'll talk about the Kings. They still have to play us. They still have to play. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of these teams. Oh, they still have to play the Jazz. I think the Jazz will give them problems. I think the Jazz are one of the better teams in this league. And we'll get it to them.
Yeah. So
they still have a couple of good teams, but kudos to what I want to say about the Spurs is that they really utilize all their players as a team, and they just got guys that could play. So if you're playing them, you better bring it, because if you don't bring it, they're gonna run on you. They're gonna beat you badly.
And what's your take on the Suns? Do you think it's you think that first win was a one-off, or
I can't say it's a one-off, but obviously I think we found kind of the formula, like shut down Aaron Heller, scheme against him, and force the other guys to kind of beat you, I guess, right? Because Aaron Heller has 40 points. They beat the Warriors by 8. I'm not sure the Warriors are good, but they're not right now. They're not as good as the Spurs. So, they have 4 guys for sure, a big 4. But so I think the Suns, but also Suns were missing Jake Goldberg. They were missing their center. It's hard to play in this league without a center, as we saw in the Kings game. Kings vs. Clippers. So, I think the Suns are good, but and I know, but obviously they're going to go back to the drawing board and figure something out. They'll be okay.
Right. All right. This will be a little bit harder for both of us, but because the game was in the old gym. But the Bulls, Team Reinhart, 2-0. 3 Reinharts defeated 4 Weinbergers.
And they beat him by handily, right?
By 14.
So, right now, Jack Reinhart's the MVP of the league. This is the kind of guy that is just a winner. He's a stud. He's worthy of the first pick. I dare you to find 5 people you'd pick over Jack Reinhart right now. I dare you to find 1. And I'm a cocky guy and I'm arrogant. So obviously I take me, but that's the only reason, because I'm me. But if you told me I'd take Jack R, I wouldn't be offended. He's excellent. He doesn't just look excellent. He is excellent. And I think it's just going to show you the unfairness of the league last year, that I got to play with him, and why we rolled through the league, and why we lost. Our lone loss is when he sat out. This guy is he's not just a Swiss Army knife. He's a Swiss Army knife on steroids, on crack. Like if a Swiss Army knife was a Transformers robot, like it was an Apache helicopter Swiss Army knife. It's not a corkscrew, it's a missile. It's not a little butter knife, it's a machine gun shooting. He is an Apache helicopter. He's a killer. He is a dog, length, IQ, smart, shooting, support, belief, toughness, everything you would want in a basketball player. Passing. I mean, he's the MVP right now. On the Eastern Conference. I think it's undisputed. I think even if they finish a 3 seed with 2 losses, 3 losses, even 2 losses, he's an MVP. You look across in the East, he's the MVP. He's tough. Now, he didn't face any superstars in the Bucks, but the Bucks are really good, and they almost beat him last year. And Alex Kelson held Jack Reinhart to his worst game last year in the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't happen this time around. The Bucks will be fine. They're a playoff team. We know what they are. But I think what the Bucks are actually might have run into a weakness, which what the Bulls are, which is a lot of length and a lot of switchability. Like those backdoor screens that worked against us, because you had me running out chasing Moshe Kelson threes, and now you could hit Donnie Weinberger for backdoor layups. Doesn't work when you Bookbinder and Matty Reinhart could just switch, and Jack and Michael Reinhart could just switch. And it's like, we got as Brian Short called them, they're Attack of the Clones. These guys are all carbon copies of each other, especially defensively. They're like the modern NBA. Like they're just all 5 3-and-D switchable defensive, lanky, long guys, and they're gonna play their asses off. They're gonna come with a scheme. They're gonna adjust. Reinhart's the MVP. It's great. It's fitting that he's on the Chicago Bulls, which is an iconic franchise, and he's an iconic TABC player.
Did we know anything about Gellerstein? Because apparently Gellerstein played very well in this game.
I still don't know anything about Gellerstein. Oh, Kleinhaus is another great one who's a switchable 3-and-D guy, and I guess Gellerstein is a switchable 3-and-D guy. So they just have a lot of switchable 3-and-D guys. Like, where's your mismatch? You're not going to be able to find it. Again, they're going to have trouble with size, but they have effort. So if you have size and no effort, you're going to lose. You need size.
Also, I think they have something that other teams don't have. You know, obviously every team has a captain. I feel like they have 2 leaders in Maddie and Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, Maddie is a leader, and he's high IQ, and Jack is a leader in high IQ, and they're going to adjust and talk. And that's why I thought we were so lethal last year, because I think I am too. I think that's why me and the Kings are lethal this year, because we have me and Burry. But yeah, they're fucking. Oh, sorry. They're really good. They're really good. Look out for the Bulls. On the flip side, the Bucks, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They'll be good. They'll be good. They're gonna make a run.
Yeah. Also, I think if these teams were to meet again in the playoffs, I think it would be a closer game.
Yeah. Should we move on? I have a lot to say about the Lakers.
Well, yeah, this is dicey because I made these rankings thinking they were 2-0, and then they suffered their first loss last night against the Dubs.
Well, look, I'm a believer in good wins, and I'm a believer in bad losses. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a believer in bad wins, and I'm a believer in good losses. I know people and Popovich, people say I don't believe in moral victories. I 100% believe in good losses and bad wins. And for example, and we'll get to my Kings, I think that was a good example of a good loss. You're missing your 6'5", stalwart defensive guy who pretty much runs your offense, and your first round pick, and you put up 53 points when you lose by 7 to a team we all thought was very good. It's a good loss, right? 7 points, and I think guys like Langer, guys like Jack Reinhart, guys of that ilk are good for 7 points, even if they don't score, right? They're going to get 7 rebounds that turn into baskets, block 3 shots that turn into 6 points, like 7 points. And you're missing a guy of that ilk, right? And I believe in bad wins. And I think the Lakers wins versus the Rockets was an indication of a bad win. This was a team that have 2 guys, and neither are known for defense. Now, Dan's a pretty good defender, but he's more of a defender on guards, Mizell's types, not Hammy Alexander types. And I thought the Lakers looked really bad against the Rockets. And I'm not going to release this until they agree to our game switch, so they don't hold this against me. So they go out and, give us the business. But the 2-3 zone completely neutralized Hammy Alexander in that game too, and made it and they pressured him. They put Dan on him to attack his dribble and said, you're not going to set the offense up from up top. We're not going to let you Jokic set up from up top of the key and do what you do best, which is distribute. And we're going to collapse on you in the paint. We're going to make it hard on you. We're going to force other guys to beat us. We're going to force Rami Leifer and the other guy, Yitzi Weiss, and Yechiel Tannenbaum. They could beat. Oh, no, they took away Yechiel because Yechiel was very dominant against the Clippers. They were taking away Yechiel wide open shots, and these other guys have to beat us. It's not going to be you, Hammy. It's not going to be you. And they won. They beat a Rockets team. Zevi Samit went off in that first half. He had 25 of the 28. But then he got hurt, and they only won by 4. And really, if Zevi Samit plays, they probably lose
that game.
A team that we think is weaker. And they came out of that 2-0, and I'm watching it thinking, Lakers are in trouble.
Oh, I even spoke to Jacob Levy before the game started. I think the Warriors are going to beat you here, and I was confirmed right.
Well, Hammy Alexander dominated last year, He had a great team with
He only
Gottlieb.
came to life in the second half last night. He was kind of
Huh?
quiet. He only came to life last night in the second half.
Gottlieb, we know, is one of the best players in the league now that we know it. Ori Schwartz, we know, is a top player.
He was injured.
Rosen and Benheim, we know, are top role players, right? Look at Rosen, what he's doing for the Spurs. He looks amazing. And Benheim was considered the better, of the two role players last year. And then Pinchot, who we see what he's doing with the Pels. They had a great team. And Hammy was able to just dominate guys because he was bigger than everybody. And two guys he's not bigger than are Stevie Paul and Jonah Tripp. So I didn't watch the game. I'll let you speak on it, but I'm sure they gave him the business.
They shot like 80% from three last night.
Who?
The Warriors. They were nuts. Tripp made shots. Wizzo made shots. Seth Foreman made shots. David White's made shots. It's just Asaf has been out of his mind the last few games.
So yeah, here's the thing about Asaf Miller, and I'm gonna now speak on the Warriors because I spoke on the Lakers. The Lakers got to go back to the drawing board, figure out other ways to score that's not so Hammy centric. That's why I like what my Kings did without me, because there's gonna be games where teams just scheme and really limit what I can do. And if we could find a way to score 53 points without me in the game at all, it's really good. Because even in my worst game, I think I could produce through assists at the very least 20, right? Through offensive rebounds and putbacks. Like if I had 10, 5, and 10, 10, 5, and 5, the worst game I could have, 10, 10, 5, and 2. The worst possible Jack, Turells, TABC game you could think of. The rest of the team is 53 without, it's really good. But the point is that the Lakers got to figure out ways to score with that's not so Hammy-centric. I want to move to the Warriors. Teams don't know this. Get this in your head. Asaf Miller, when he's hot, is elite. He is the best one. When he gets going, he is the best player in the TABC league.
Pelicans
Put this in your head. Do not let him go off. Do not let him get hot. Guard him. Don't let him get going. The second he gets going, you're done. He's like the J.R. Smith of those 09 Nuggets that if he hits two, you're like, oh, no, he's going to go. And these teams are like, oh, they got Wizzo, and they got Stevie, and they got Tripp, and I got a plan for these guys. Screw them. They're great. They're going to get theirs. Nobody's a better heat check guy than Asaf Miller. Nobody.
I can't wrap my head around the fact that the Suns beat them. Because they've looked great these last two games.
They are great. I'm
sure
they
need time to
need
gel
a
and work
game
together.
to adjust. Oh, sorry. I'm calm. I upset my son with that screaming. I'm sure they needed a game to adjust, and they took the Suns lightly, right? Because we all did. And I think the Suns. Oh, hi, puppy. I think the Suns snuck up on him.
The top and it scared him. He's getting too upset.
Hey, I'm not upset. I just think Asaf Miller is a killer. He's the best heat check guy in all of TABC. Right, Nati? He's the best heat check guy in all of the TBC, and teams need to stop letting him get off. Because when he gets off, it's over. Wasatski, Stevie, Jonah, they're all consistently, obviously, I think we would all agree, really good players. But when, for example, in my Zion team, we played Burry Klein, and they had Asaf Miller. And we told Heidemann, who was our best wing defender, don't worry about Max Zackheim. Worry about Asaf Miller. Take him out. Because if he gets going, Max Zackheim will be the least of our problems. Asaf Miller is that kind of dude when he gets hot. So don't let him get off. I think, again, to return on the Suns thing, they might have taken him lightly. Aaron Heller scores 40, and they lose by 8. We think the Warriors are really good. So
yeah, I think the both of us had them as a top-ranked team heading in.
And I think the Spurs are going to need to beat them, and they're going to need to beat the Jazz, and they're going to need it. So they have a tougher road ahead, I think. But yeah, the Warriors are really good, and they're figuring it out. Look, if Seth Foreman is hitting shots, two things that if this happens for the Warriors, you're going to be hard-pressed to beat them. If Seth Foreman's hitting shots, you're going to be hard-pressed because the way to play against him is like, we're going to make Seth Foreman beat us. And if Seth Foreman beats you, what are you going to do, right? What poison are you picking? Because Wizzo can get hot too, and Wizzo's great. And so is Stevie, so is Tripp. You know my feelings on those guys. Seth Foreman, I've been telling them all year, you're gonna have to beat us. I'm making you beat us. He's beating you. What are you gonna do? And secondly, he's a soft miller. If he goes off, you're done for. You're done for.
It was the
Don't
best.
let him go off.
It was the best shooting performance I saw last night. Everything was clicking. Lakers were without Isaac Held. Not sure would have made much of a difference though. They had to play more bench players. They had to give bench players more minutes than they usually do. So maybe that was a bit of a downside for them. But I don't know. When you lose by 18, you really can't blame the game.
Honestly, I think the Lakers had their worst. I think you have them way too high as the 4th seed. I think it was a sham 2-0. Because not really a sham 2. That's very harsh. But
I mean, the Clippers win was good.
No, we can talk about that game next. Oh, you mean the Lakers beating the Clippers?
In week 1 in overtime.
Well, was it? Let's talk about it because I think the Clippers have a lot to worry about. I think if I'm Captain Gottlieb and
listen, I think if you were in action this week, with that, they only beat you by 6 without you. They play you. They're probably 0-2 right now.
They are 0-2, and because they were able to utilize their best two. Look, they were able to use their length to bother Shlomo Mizels and Josh Klein. Their length isn't going to bother Jack Turrell. Their length isn't going to bother Simon Brukim. Their length isn't going to bother Tripp and Paul. Their length isn't going to bother Rubenstein and Friedman and those guys on the Spurs. Their length isn't going to bother bigger teams. We have smaller guys because we had 2 bigs. We had me and Burry to start. All right, let's surround us with small, skilled shooters who don't need the ball. And Lior Kadok, I think
shooting it well again the other night.
I think Mason looked great, but I think he'll be the first to tell you he ain't getting those layups, those easy ones if I'm there. And I think I'll be the first to tell you I'm happy if Mason's not playing for the Clippers. Let me frame it this way because I thought about this. This is how I want to frame it. If I'm going in as the Kings and Mason didn't play and we won by 6 or 7, I'm coming out of that kind of worried for my team. And because Mason's great. And if I'm playing the Clippers and Akiva Gottlieb's not playing and we win by 6 or 7, I'm worried for my team. That's a bad win because Akiva Gottlieb is great. And if I'm getting shots or I'm getting things easy that wouldn't have been there had Mason or Gottlieb played, all right, Gottlieb is a good defender. Let's say Gottlieb's not there and I'm just bully balling guys and laying it in and getting every shot I want. And we only win by 6 and I'm getting open shots from my guys. Yeah, I'm worried. On the flip, Mason's he has Burry Klein, who's older, trying to guard him. I think Mason would be the first to tell you he'd rather have Burry guarding him, who I think is an elite defender, with Shlomo Mizels in help side, than Burry guarding him, who's an elite defender, with Jack Turrell in help side, right? Because I was going to make some of those other guys hit threes to beat us. I was going to guard 27. They're hockey guys. They're non-shooters. Even Rev Halpert, who's a good shooter but a slow release, I had to guard him because I could get back out there in time to recover. And Mason got his layups. I don't want to detract, though, from a win. They won. They look good. They'll be fine. It would be much worse had they lost. And I'm sure they could parlay the good Gottlieb game week 1 and the good Mason game week 2 into, all right, let's consistent this. And if those guys get consistent, good luck against them. They're very good. They have a really good team. I don't think they're a joke. I think the Clippers are really good.
However, you think I have them ranked too low?
Well, I have a lot of problems with the rankings. I think the Warriors need to be up. The Lakers need to be down. And I would have said that even with the 2-0 versus the 1-1 because, I think the Heat need to be higher. The Kings need to be higher than the Lakers.
Like I said, this is done before what unfolded.
I think the Jazz need to be higher than the Lakers. I just think the Rockets game and the Clippers game, because the Clippers, Gottlieb now has 2 games where I think he wasn't 100% happy with how his team played. I feel like he felt like he could have won the Laker game and they lost. And, and I think that you can't walk away from that Kings game where you're the best 2 offensive. The second round pick is not an offensive player in Burry.
You're honestly right. Also,
the next 2 best players are under 6 foot, and they still scored 53 points. And they still only held you to 60. They only lost by 7. And they're fouling at the end. So that's really, they cut it to 3. And I have to criticize Burry that, and we actually spoke about it internally, so I feel comfortable saying it. Burry needs to start the second half with his best 5. This is the second week in a row that he started it with the substitution thing, and it wasn't the best 5, and the second week in a row that the other team went on a run. Last year didn't really matter. Last week it didn't matter because we were up 18 and they cut it to 10. Burry comes back in, we bring it back to 15, we win by 15. This week it did. We were down 2 at the half, and they went from 2 to 10 because he didn't have his 5 best players to start the second half. Even if it's for 5 minutes, just to set a tone, you need to have your best players to start the first and to start the second half, because you need to be able to set that tone. You need to be able to build, to go off it. If, let's say we hit a 3 and we go up 1 at the second half, and then the lead was cut to 3. And Mason came in and iced it, and Mason's that kind of guy. I think the Clippers need to go back to the drawing board, and they go, hey, a win's a win. Let's come out here and take some tuchus. They got to figure that out.
So when we talked about the Kings' loss afterwards, you said of all the games you're missing, this is the one. This is like the freebie. If we lose this one, fine. If we go 2-1, my absence, I'll take it. So,
I'm hoping I'm only missing one game.
One game, right.
I'm hoping the Rockets game gets rescheduled because I think everyone's missing that game.
Right. So I know you were disappointed in the result because it was so close without you. So the fact that if you were there, you would have ultimately won.
I think we could have won 2. Also, I think we didn't run our out of bounds play that we ran versus the Jazz and scored every time. And I think it's just a play that if you run plays in this league, you're going to score because people aren't going to scout it and people aren't going to know what happens. What's up, puppy? Come here. We only lost by 7. If we score on 4 out of bounds plays, we win.
Well, it's hard with rotation. You win your first game by a substantial margin with you, and then one star's out and Mizell's is in, and then you approach the game differently.
Well, me and Mizell's are different. I think it's what's wrong. Mizell's look. He's hey. Mizell's is the point guard. He's under 6 feet, and I think if you put the scoring pressure on him to score and have to be your go-to scorer, you're in a little bit more trouble because against a full defense, it's without like a big to dump it off to or a big to set him a screen and a roll and be an option. Like if Burry sets a screen and rolls, you're worried about Burry, but you're probably going to hedge on Mizell's knowing he can't just throw it at the rim where Burry will catch and dunk. If I'm there, it's okay. If I'm there, I set that screen on Mizell's, you can't really hedge too hard because if you hedge too hard, he could just throw it higher than anybody. I'm catching it. I'm putting it in. I think I'm freeing shots up for Mizell's. I'm making it easier for him. And I think I'm reeling him in. I think he tried to do a little bit too much because he had to, and he was really good. And I think he showed that he's a really good player. You have me, Burry, Mizell's, and Klein, with Leo Cadeau. What do you need? Judah and a Bitten. Oh, you don't like the hair on you, huh? I think you got to watch out. On the flip side, the Clippers have a good win. I think they looked good, really good defensively. They have a lot of length and a lot of switchability. I think the Clippers need to come in and be like the Bulls. It'd be like, we're just going to be a switchable, long, tough defensive team that have 2 guys that can get a bucket on anybody and shooters around and just be a really great defensive squad with scorers. And the Clippers will be really good. I think they're a really good team. And I think, yes, I said it. They need to go back to the drawing board and we figured it out because an overtime loss to a Lakers team that just barely beat the Rockets and then lost by 18 to the Warriors and then a barely win against the Kings is now what you're looking for if you're Gottlieb and you believe you have championship aspirations, which I think they do. So,
right.
They need to get an identity. I think it needs to start on the defensive end. I get that they have these offensive stalwarts, but for them to be a championship team, they got to go, we got a lot of length. We got a lot of defense. Let's pride ourselves on defense like the Bulls have done. Like, I don't think any of us think that the Bulls have more offensive prowess than the Clippers or more defensive prowess than the Clippers for that matter. But they pride themselves on that defensive end, and they look like a championship team right now. And they're not more talented on paper. So, that's my notes to the Clippers. I'm not trying to be a sourpuss for the loss and a sore loser, as I probably was when we immediately lost. And I was texting Gottlieb a bunch of trash talk. They're like, oh, you had a lot. But like, no, all honesty, I think, he has to look at this and go, look, we're in the West. We're in the tougher conference. We have to face all these teams. The Warriors just beat the Lakers, who we lost to by 18. And we eked out a win against the Kings when their tallest player was about 6'2", and their next two best players are under 6 feet. And by under 6, like they're shorter. Oh shit. Oh. Yeah, he my son turned off the screen for a sec. They're under 6 feet. So yeah, he's got to go back to the drawing board and come up with an identity for their team that I think will work. And I think they'll be great. I think they're a great team. I think they're really good. They showed a lot in the games I saw them play.
No, I agree with you. I think, listen, I think you guys are more than fine. I think you'll bounce back from this easily. And I think the verdict is yet to be out on the Clippers. They could be they're 1-1 obviously right now, but they could be anywhere right now from 1-1 to 2-0 to 0-2.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But I think if they need to take a look at both of those and say this is not, and I think Gottlieb would agree, and he would say this is, after both games, I think he would say, we didn't play our best game. Well, where are you going to be where you could play your best game? Where do you got to go? Yeah, you think so? Where you're playing your best game every week.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
So on to the Knicks. The Knicks now are cruising after that Bulls loss. They made easy work of the Nets without Nolan, and last night they made easy work of the Celtics.
Well, let's hear your take. I didn't really
watch both shorthanded, though.
Huh?
Two teams are both shorthanded.
Who were the good teams got to take care of bad teams. Good teams got to take care of business. I think we both picked the Knicks to win both these games. We did. They took care of business. I think they're good. I want to see them in a challenging game. I'm looking forward to Knicks versus Pistons. But obviously the Knicks are one of the best teams. Especially when they're clicking on all cylinders. They got to be higher up for me. I think if we
now they also have a 2-week layoff now because they played last night.
I think a 2-week layoff is helpful for a team like the Knicks, a team that's a little bit older. They got some guys that could use a week rest. Spend time with their family, with their kids, with their wives. The Knicks are in good shape. You tell me, how did they look on offense? Were they pounding it into Langer?
Langer was getting his points in the paint. Boosie was hitting outside shots. Herman was hitting outside shots. Those are the big three,
Listen, if they're
Klein is like his younger brothers. He's a fighter, fights for the loose balls, gives 100%. And you got the Gertzberg cousins, Ami and Gabe, who have their contributions every now and then.
Look, I said this team would be tough to beat to start the season. I think they started the season underestimating the heart of the Bulls, who are the heart of champions. They have the finals MVP, this season's most likely MVP. And they have, I'm in crazy family mode right now. Only a true trooper feeds his son, drinks a beer.
How about podcast? All good.
Yogurt.
It's better to have you on the show feeding and talking than not have you on the show at all.
Oh, I love being here. So I think the Knicks. Yeah, come on. We'll go outside. They underestimated the Bulls. You're okay. T-Mac, leave him alone. Let him eat. Come on. Come outside. I think they underestimated the Bulls in week 1, and they didn't feed Langer, who's one of the most impossible guys.
Guard.
Who's one of the most impossible guys to stop in the league in the post, and one of the hardest guys for me to guard. And I'd be the first to tell you that Langer's a bad boy that could put points up in bunches, and you might need a double team, but you can't double team him because Ellie Boosie's knocked down and Mike Herbin's knocked down and Gertzberg's a bad boy. They're bad boys, and they took care of business. Now, I really want to see this Knicks against another good team so we could really get an analyze. Facing the Nets without Johnny Nolman and facing it with, I think the Nets play the right way, and I think if they played him with Nolman and beat him well, that'd be a good teller for the Knicks because I think the Nets are good because they have the best leader in the TABC league, which is Johnny Nolman, and he always gets his teams to play well. They took the Heat, who we have ranked as the second or third best team in this league. They took them down to the wire. So I think a squad.
Not Benny Tuckman though.
Huh?
Heat didn't have Benny Tuckman for that.
Well,
game.
they didn't have Benny Tuckman against the Pistons, and they didn't have Justin Holt against the Celtics. So
right, we just have to
clearly a
assume
team that could win games without their stars.
Doesn't matter who you have, yeah.
So the Nets are good. They didn't have Nolman. I think that it's not a good shower, but good teams got to take care of bad, hurt teams. If you're missing guys, you got to take care of business, and they took care of business. It wasn't a bad win or a good loss. It was a dominating win both times. So the Knicks are really good. But I'm looking forward to when they play the Pistons, when they play the Heat, when they play they already played the Bulls, Nets, Cavs. I want to see it. So, but kudos to the Knicks. And on the flip side, the Nets, not much to say. I think they'll be good. Nolman wasn't there. What are you going to say?
Right. Just on to the next. So I think we discussed the Warriors at length, so we can skip them. Why don't we talk about the Pelicans? Pelicans had an opening win against the Mavs, and then they fell to the Warriors this week, and they'll hope to bounce back against the Jazz next week.
Look, I think Jordan Hood is a superstar, and this is his opportunity to show it. And I think I think the Hodes are superstars, super duper duper uber stars, and they haven't had the luck since I've been in this league to be paired with teams that accentuate their superstardom. And they're like, sometimes you could get just put on a team that doesn't work with you. And I think Jordan had that his first year back from COVID for sure. And last year a little bit. I think he has a team that works with him. I think Weisberg looks really good. Is very strong. You got to watch out. You can't walk into things.
So let me ask you this.
Hold on. I think, but I think also that, and Isaac Gore is one of the best.
You read my mind. Isaac Gore.
His step back mid-range jump shot where he puts his shoulder and you step back pulls is unguardable, and it's elite.
That's the problem right now. Isaac Gore, I'm not even sure he's hit double figures yet in scoring.
Well, the problem is that I think Isaac Gore is an elite shooter and an elite heat check guy, but benefited last year tremendously to
you and the Reinharts.
Me and Jack Reinhart. If you have to worry about me in the post and you have to worry about Jack on the wing, we're seeing right now those are two MVP candidates, right? I won MVP last year. He might win MVP this year. So you have two MVPs that you have to worry about. And this would go with it's the Mason Gottlieb theory. If you're worrying about Gottlieb and you're worrying about Mason and Isaac Gore is just there and he just could shoot set threes, he's going to have games where he scores 30. And just like he had games for us where he scored 30 and games he won for us, like the Spurs overtime win last year.
Right.
But on this team, he's really not only a third option, he's kind of a second option because Shlomo Weisberg is not a dynamic scorer at this point anymore, right? And honestly, Jordan Hood is more elite as a setup guy than he is as a scorer guy. Like if Jordan Hood is getting those mid-range shots and setting up guys for 25 to 30 points, if Jordan Hood had Ari Mitnick, Isaac Gore is perfect there as a third spot. But Weisberg, he's got to be a 20 to 25 point scorer, it's tough. It's tough. It's tougher for Isaac. Really... Isaac probably needs to go in the post more and try to get some post ups. They got to figure out ways to set pin downs for him to get him open. They got to figure out ways to get him involved because he's capable of scoring 30. There's not a lot of guys that could do it. But they got to figure out how to get him involved or they're going to be in trouble again.
Yeah, because
I think they're very middle of the pack, the Pelicans.
I think we've had them in the middle of the pack from the beginning.
Yeah.
They had a good opening week win, but I don't know. The Mavs haven't looked too good, so maybe.
Well, I think the Mavs will be fine, but I don't think facing the Jazz in week 2 is good. I think the Jazz are one of the better teams. I think they just
So that's a
faced
good
a
segue.
team that knew them. Like, I know Simon, I know Ori Schwartz, I know Malka, I know Eric Lifshitz, I know Hillel Glick. I knew their team backwards, their strengths and weaknesses, and I knew how to guard them. And they just
But
faced
this
a
is
team that had a game plan.
but this is official. There's no rumors anymore. Ori Schwartz is out for a long period of time.
He got hurt.
Back issues.
And what did I say at the beginning of the season about the Jazz?
Injuries.
That if you could look at the tape, that they'll be good if those guys stay in shape. But if Ori Schwartz gets hurt or Simon Brukim gets hurt, this team will be in trouble. Now, I don't think they'll actually be in trouble because I think Simon Brukim's a lot better than I thought. And that they played inside out.
And I think a lot of captains have noticed that you gave them some wrong intel.
One captain, well, he wasn't 230 pounds when I played with him. He was a wing, all right? And he was 180 pounds. He's 230 now and a big with guard feet. So lay off me, is what I have to say.
To that unknown captain, wink, wink.
Yeah, lay off me. And I wasn't the only one who gave you bad intel, by the way.
It's true. There were other people.
Other people. I haven't played with him in 5 years. When he was a 180-pound guard and he couldn't move anymore. Well, he doesn't move anymore when he's 230 and got footwork like Tim Duncan. I think the Jazz will be fine because they could feed him every time and you have to double. He's the type of guy that if he was on my team would be amazing because we have the best shooting team in the league, 3-point shooting, and you have to double Simon Brukim. The Jazz will be fine without Ori. I mean, this is another.
I think with the Schwartz injury, more responsibility will fall on the shoulders of Malka.
Yeah, Malka's good. And Kalibnik's going to have to hit shots. And Hillel Glick is good. And he'll have to hit shots. They're good. Glick is good. And Malka's good. And I think the Jazz are still an elite team without Ori. And when he gets back, they'll be that much better.
It's a bold call. We'll see where they fall in the playoff standings.
So, yeah, again, what are we talking about? The Pelicans? I'm still not sure about them. I think the Jazz are ahead of them. And we could talk about the Jazz now. And
they play each other next week, so it's fitting.
The Pels only played 1 game, right?
Pelicans play 2. Jazz play 2.
The Jazz. Now, I want to talk about the Mavs. They're good. They're good. They're good. They'll be fine. You have Dwight, Ellie Lipner, Gov Feld. They're good.
Feld was the reason why it was closer. They didn't lose by more.
Feld, I'd love to have him on my team. If the Jazz are open to
got
trade,
range, that guy.
Can I trade I want to trade. I want Goffeld. He's such a good shooter. He's the player I love to play with. Can't leave him. He gives you so much space, and as an offensive player, that's all you want is space. Teams can't clog the lane. You keep it space. You could drive and kick.
So I disagree with you. You think the Jazz are fine, and I think there's some issues with Ori, and you think the Mavs are fine. I'm not so sure about that. I really haven't seen what I liked from the Mavs in that second game.
You could go in on the Mavs. I still have to play them, and I know better now than from last year than to piss off Ellie Lipner. But no, I think the Mavs. Well, I think we'll have to see. I think they're middle of the pack. I don't think the question marks are as big. They're still figuring themselves out. I don't think that. I think you'd be dead wrong if you think the Jazz aren't fine. I think they have Simon Brukim, who's an unstoppable force, and shooting. They have shooting around him, and you're going to be fine if you have that. Just play to your strength. The key to the game is playing to your strength, finding out what your team identity is, and playing to that.
Right.
The Mavs don't have their identity yet. I think once they find it out, they'll be good. I think they need more pick and rolls with Lipner and Deutsch, and with Gov in the corner or in the opposite corner, so that they have a kick out. If they just got to run more things to their stuff, do their guys. On the flip, I think the Jazz know what their identity is, and their identity is Simon Brukim.
Oh, they know how to play together. The Mavs
pound the ball down low.
Don't know how to play together yet.
Yeah, pound the ball down low. Nobody could guard him. I think Ali Lipner is probably the best guy to guard him because he's got the most strength. But pound it, and this is honestly how I thought the Nuggets should have played last year with Yehuda Gutman. Pound it down low. If you have one of these guys that can't be stopped in the post, don't be a run and gun team.
They didn't use him well. They didn't use Kadosh well.
Well, yeah. Exactly. If you have Gutman and you have to double, and he could pass out to Kadok and Poliev, and so I don't want to talk about last year, but walk it up, use your guys. I don't have much to
I
say.
had a conversation with Dan. He even agreed with it that we didn't use them well.
It's all good. Let's move on to the next team.
All right, so that was Pelicans. We discussed the Jazz. We discussed the Clippers. I think we discussed enough about the Bucks, right?
Yeah, I didn't watch the Wizards game at all.
They won. I'm blanking on who they defeated. Oh, they beat the Magic without JJ.
Yeah, I think the Wizards, like I
Wizards,
said, are better than we thought they were. But I want to actually talk about the Pistons.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think I talked about it. I think the fact they only beat the Wizards by 10 and they had another win that was close-ish. Oh no, they beat the Cavs badly. No, I think never mind. I don't want to talk about the Pistons. The Wizards are a good team, but I think they're better than we thought. They're gonna play hard. Again, teams got to take care of business.
Drew Klein played his first game.
Drew Klein is back. The Nets with the Magic, the Magic without JJ. Come on. We're not really talking. A good win for the Wizards. Way to take care of business. I like Lichting. I like Rafi Mitnick. I like Isaac Leifer. They're going to be a tough, strong team.
Still not feeling
playing. You're basically, you're going to play with a bubble. What's a good analogy? And you're going to try to listen to an iPod without the juice. Like, he's their battery pack. He's the one that makes it go.
Yeah,
I think with the Cavs win than playing it with the Magic, but also. We got to see the Magic get a win. I mean, the word's still out on the Magic.
JJ's 1-0 with another team, and he's 0-2 with his own team.
We know what I feel about JJ. You know what I feel about Gartenberg. You know what I feel about Zerman and Dietz. I mean, these are great players.
Zerman was out week 2.
They got to get a win. And if they don't get a win, they could just be another case of a talented roster that was bad like the Nuggets last year.
No, right? I think once they get that first win, they're ready to go.
I think so too. JJ's a dog.
But
good on the Wizards. I'm still not impressed. They I think they're worse than the Cavs. I think they're worse than the Bucks. I think they're worse than the Bulls.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not feeling them despite the fact that they got to win this week.
They got to win and they needed to, but I don't have much to say about them.
No.
I like Lichting and I like Rafi. I like Isaac. I just don't know if they have enough offense and enough size.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not that I had them in the bottom of the pack, but I just don't think much of them. Sorry. Let's talk about the Cavs. Polinsky went down towards the end. Cavs had a gritty week 1 win in overtime. This week, Pistons kind of gave them a good old fashioned ass whooping.
Well, their best player, whose strength is predicated on his strength and size, he's weaker and smaller than the Pistons' 2 best players, right? So, like, if your greatest strength is speed and the other team's 2 best guys are faster, I mean, Hammy felt bad to this, where Stevie and Tripp are just bigger, and Schreier fell to this, where Mitnick and Moskovich are just bigger, and Heidemann is a lockdown defender, and he took out Fuhrer. And this is why we thought the Pistons were great, because they are. Now, I think it's just a testament to how good the Heat are that they beat them. But look, the Cavs, hats off to Rami.
I think they'll have a lot of ups and downs throughout this season.
They'll be a roller coaster, just like the Grizzlies were last year. I think they'll get some.
With another Rami Polinsky-led team.
Yeah, no, they'll get some good wins, and they'll have some tough losses. Who do they play next week?
We'll discuss that because we're going to do predictions after.
They'll have some good wins. They'll have some tough losses. Rami, you let that week 1 win go to your head. You yelled at us for
I remember
underestimating you, and you're here to stay. And you can't talk that trash and then lay an egg against a Pistons team that you can't do it. Sorry. You're going to talk that trash. You got to follow it up with a week 2, at least a 10-point loss, at least 10. Keep it respectable. Keep it within the frame of they beat us, but we fought. They got blown out. The Pistons are better. Cavs will be fine, but the Pistons are good. Like, they got to go back to the drawing board, and what are they going to look like versus the top teams? And the Cavs are funny because I think they could go out and beat the Bulls and then lose by 20 to the Heat, and then beat the Knicks, and then
Right.
lose by 10 to the Nets, and I just can't get a hold on them. Like I don't.
Yeah,
I think honestly, in the East, Bulls, Heat, Bulls, Heat, Pistons, Knicks, and honestly, Cavs are right there. I think the Cavs are next. I think they're just a roller coaster team. I just think
I mean, I agree with you. I think it benefits them that they're quote unquote in the easier conference.
it benefits them that they're and they don't have to face the Warriors. They don't have to face the Jazz, the Kings. But I think I wouldn't be shocked if they beat the Knicks, and then I wouldn't be shocked if they lost by 40 to the Heat. They're just a weird team. I don't have a feeling on them yet. I got to watch more, and they're just random.
Agreed.
They're a random team. They're random. Like Ellie Greenberg's a dog.
Even though I do think this was Polinsky's best drafted team.
Oh, this is what I wanted to say. I've been meaning to say this. Ellie Greenberg's a dog, and he's tough.
This week he was
And
kind of
Schreier's a dog, and he's tough. But the Pistons are the doghouse. They're the dog catchers.
right.
Like as dog and MFers as Ellie Greenberg and Schreier are, Ari Mitnick, Heidemann, Moskovich, these guys are just as tough
right.
and stronger.
And maybe that's why they ultimately
The
won.
dogs met the dog catchers.
Right.
That's really what it was. I can't, and their Cavs are going to get win on grid alone, but the dogs met the dog. I mean, those are dog catchers right there. You know, Ari Mitnick and Moskovich and Heidemann, dog catchers.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the Cavs. We got to see more of them. I agree. I think we discussed the Suns at length. Rockets came close this week against the Lakers. Still no cigar.
Yeah,
close. Zebby missed crunch time.
They're in trouble because Zebby just got hurt, and I heard he's out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was a precaution.
Precaution is he should be precautious. There's no reason Zebby should be exerting as much effort offensively as he did last week where he gets hurt. It's not worth it. Yeah, I think the perfect teammate for Dan is kind of a JJ Zackheim guy who's another point guard who could go your turn, my turn, but also pass, or Joe
maybe even
Amar.
a Max Zackheim.
Yeah, Joe Amar, like a superstar wing scorer who's a good passer is a perfect teammate for Dan, and I'm not like, yeah, they're gonna have an uphill battle ahead of them, obviously with Zebby out.
And let's be honest, you were never
Rafi Mitnick is a great guy to pair with Dan. Rafi Mitnick would be a great guy.
Right. But let's be honest, you were never too sold on them, even with Zebby.
I want to be nice to them because they agreed to the switch. But obviously, you know it's going to be tough without Zebby Samit. I mean, Dan traded his entire team for Zebby Samit, and now he's going to miss 3 weeks. Yeah, so it's the problem in the NBA when you put all your eggs in one basket and the basket breaks. And the same thing happens in this league where you put all your eggs in the Zebby basket. Now the basket's broken for 3 weeks, and you know what are you going to do?
Yeah. So we discussed the Magic. We think they'll be good to go once JJ and Zerman and the whole squad is together for the next game.
Look, we'll see. They still got to get a win. You know, you know what I feel about each of these players and individuals, but you know how I felt about each of the players on the Celtics as individuals. I love the Celtics squad. I love all those players. They're all winning players. And Zackheim and Gartenberg with the Mitnick brothers and Heidemann won a championship in Zion, and that's a really competitive league.
But with the exception of the Mavs in this bottom four, 3 of these teams have faced losses shorthanded. What does that tell you? In the fact that the top 4 have been teams who have had their squads at full strength.
Full strength's important. I got to redo your top because I disagree with it. I think Spurs are 1.
Well, are you factoring what happened last night? Because that's not what I didn't factor this based off what happened in week 3 games last night.
Fine. So leave the Pistons up there. They're the only one that belongs to it. The Lakers don't. Leave Kings at 6, but I think Spurs, Bulls, Heat got to be there.
You'd move up the Knicks.
I think Kings are there at 4 still. I think Knicks. I think Warriors. I think Jazz. I think Clippers. I think Bucks. It starts to drop off after that. I think I'm missing someone, but yeah, those are and the Lakers, obviously Lakers. They beat the Clippers. No, Lakers are ahead of Clippers because they beat them. But yeah, no,
It sounds to me like you think the Lakers are the worst 2-win team that's out there.
Well, I think Hemi Alexander's elite, but I think the Rockets showed how to kind of the blueprint on him, right? They kind of, if you can't punish
Dan will tell you this is on the record. I think he even told you after the game, Hemi Alexander, reigning MVP, we just shut him down at 4 points.
They locked him, and they showed you how to do it. They kind of said, you want to know how to make a cake? Hemi Alexander lockdown cake. Here's the instructions, Martha Stewart style. I'm watching the game going, yo, yeah, that's how you stop him. And
right. And then
who do it with an elite?
Who buried them instead? Baseline Brum.
Yeah, Brum's great. He's fine, but they don't have Zevi Salmon in the third and fourth quarter. They only lose by 4, and they only have 2 scorers to begin with. And Sammy Nat, who's a scorer but he's not a shooter.
Nat looked better in this one. He looked better.
That's great. That's great. He's great, but he's not a shooter. That's the thing. He's not a shooter. So if I'm playing the Rockets, I'm guarding Sammy Nat. I'm sitting in the paint. I'm telling my guys to ride Dan and Zevi off the 3-point line. They got to come on the 6'5" guy who could reverse dunk. I'm 6'5" going on 6'9" at this point with my light. Now that I'm skinny again, yes, I'm skinny, so I'm not gonna like bully ball. But on the defensive end, it's more helpful because I could really jump high. So it's just like my shot blocking is better. So if you don't have 5 shooters, you're gonna have problems against the Kings. Look, yeah, they kind of. So yeah, I think the Lakers got to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, so these teams have now this cake recipe on how to slow down Hammy. How do we fix that? What are we going to do? Rami's a great captain. He'll think of something. Maybe Rami needs to bring it up and Hammy needs to catch down low and draw a double and kick, and the shooters need to step up and hit. So we'll see what goes. Or maybe Hammy works from the high post instead of all the way at the top of the key. But hats off to the Rockets, that game plan. I think if Zevi doesn't go down, they for sure win.
Yeah. And
go up in the rankings. So hats off to them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Nets probably go up with Nets. It's a must win for the Nets next time out. Should they have Nolan? Mavericks got to get going, and the Celtics just need bodies. They're totally.
Celtics might be the worst team right now, and I like all their players. They just can't score. They need to basket. Is the name of the game. All right, let's move on. Top 5 players.
All right, can I get a drum roll, please? All right, tell me what you're surprised with here.
Yeah, this is a terrible list. These aren't the top 5 players in the league. First of all, no Simon Brukim, no Jack Reinhart, no Jack Turells.
First off,
no Jason Langer.
You didn't play this week. This is this week.
Mason belongs. He went off, but again, he went off because no one was there to challenge his shot.
Izzo was shut down, and Asaf went off on the Pelicans.
We didn't play a zone because our guys didn't rebound. The Kings. I've expressed my disappointment that we just watched. We didn't box down and gang rebound because we're used to me and Burry being there, 2 of the 5 best rebounders. So my team doesn't have to rebound; they can leak out. But without me there, 5 guys have to rebound, and we went away from a zone, which was beneficial to the Clippers, right? The Clippers don't want to see a zone. They don't want Mason and a Gottlieb having to go one-on-one against 5. What they want to see is a man-to-man with no help side, which is exactly what they got, and they barely won. I mean, they won, and it's exactly what they got. And Mason had 30 points, and he looked incredible. He belongs on that list. He's incredible. But
so who do you have gripes with here?
Gustav Miller belongs there because he's the best heat check guy in the league. I don't know. I didn't watch the other 3 games. So, I mean, I did watch it, but I didn't think Moshe Brum standed out. You can't have him as the 3rd pick when they barely beat a Rockets team that's already flawed with Zevi Salmon hurt in the 3rd.
I thought Brum was fantastic. I thought he shot the ball very well.
He shot the ball well, but
I think
you have nobody on the Spurs.
Evan Chesner.
Oh, is he the one who went off on the Spurs?
I thought he played extremely well the other night. I was amazed. He shot well. He passed well. He made the right decisions.
Chesner too, dude.
Yeah, he's the surprise one, I think, for people, because when people think of Ches, they think of Josh right away.
No,
Evan,
Chesner was great last year on the Sixers.
Evan played great this week. I thought he was deserving of a spot here.
All right, I just don't think that. I mean, nobody on the Heat. No Benny Tuckman.
Yeah, I guess I could have included Benny Tuckman from
No
the Monday.
Simon Brookeem.
Simon was part of last week's squad.
Well, you're gonna do different guys every week.
No, I mean, if you earn it, you earn it. I thought Simon's stats, I think, were a lot. I think they were more impressive last. I mean, we don't do stats, but I thought he did more last week than he did in the win this week.
Yeah, but they beat up on the Mavs without Ori Schwartz.
They beat up on.
Let me just say this: if this was your first team all league at the end of the season, then this is how I want to judge. No. I'd be very disappointed.
No. I do it week by week. You know.
No Jack Reinhart, really?
I didn't watch that game, but from what I heard from Moshe Weinberger, who's a trusted source, Jack Reinhart maybe only had like 14.
Like 14 points isn't a lot of points. That's still a good game.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Jack Reinhart isn't necessarily a scorer. He's an everything guy. He's a Scottie Pippen. All right, fine. I'm not going to argue.
I didn't watch the game.
Fine.
But then again, I had Aaron Heller on the list last week, and I wasn't at that game.
He got locked this week. He got locked up. Zevi Salmon. You don't put Zevi Salmon on that? He had like 35 points.
Right. No, it's fair.
Was Heidemann better than Zevi?
I thought Heidemann was great in that Cavs game.
Heidemann's a great player. He's an elite talent. One of my favorite guys to play with. I love him. I love Aaron Heidemann. I love playing with him.
I didn't think this would be so controversial, but it looks like I'm getting pushback here on Brum and Ches.
I just think Chesner has the best team. And like in terms of supporting cast, like I think any guy on that team, like Friedman, Spencer Rubenstein, Joe Rosen, like you just look at it.
All right, so 3 out of 5 here you're fine with. Miller, Wedgel, and Heidemann.
Yeah, and Brum didn't stand out to me.
All right. Each his own.
He didn't. They barely beat a Rockets team.
Well, let me ask you, who would your top 5 be from this week? Zevi, Brookeem.
Zevi and Brookeem would be on the list. I didn't watch the Pistons game, so I can't speak on Heidemann. But I just Mason would be on it because he totally killed us. And I think I think he was happy I wasn't there in the paint, but fine. And I wasn't there, so whatever. I can't complain. I don't want to be. If the switch is flipped, I wouldn't let Gottlieb get a sub either, and I wouldn't want to switch the game either. Because why would I want to play Gottlieb and Mason if I have the opportunity to only play one of them? I agree. I'm with it. So I'm with it. I never attacked Justin Hode last year. I was totally on board with what he did because I'd have done the same thing. Because I would rather play you weak. Because I'm a killer and I'm a predator. I want to play you weak. I don't want to play you strong.
And some people have the opposite approach. We want a better, closer game, so please have a sub. So
you got that. It's not how we play. I don't like subs either. Neither does Burry. So anyway, fine. Looks good. Let's move on.
All right, 2023. Here we go. And a reminder to our viewers that we're only playing on Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday, we observe 4th of July, and Thursday is a Jewish fast day.
July 3rd game is a travesty to America, Oren Glickman.
Erev, I agree. No Tachnin.
Bulls losers, I think the Bulls win by 30.
I'll take the Bulls too, in a landslide. I just think the Reinhardts will be too much.
I think this Kings-Rockets game needs to be rescheduled. Apparently me, Burry, Kadok, Poliev, Zevi, everyone's missing it. So what's the point of playing it? It needs to be rescheduled.
All right, so that'll be a wait and see approach, so we won't give a prediction there.
It probably won't be rescheduled, so whoever gets the best subs.
Right, or if they go at it with their starters, I think you guys win.
Yeah, I guess. We don't have 5. I don't know. I think we need JJ.
Jazz Pelicans, I think sounds to me like you're going to fancy the Jazz here. I'm going to take I'm going to recuse because I have to.
I'm taking the Jazz.
You think even without Ori, they're still enough? It's still enough.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough, but I think this is a real game for both of them. This is a real come to. Are the Jazz legitimate? They had a legitimate win the other day, but they also had a legitimate loss. Now I'm here saying they're legitimate. I think even without Ori Schwartz is a great captain and a great leader and could do just as much damage on the sideline, almost, as he could do on the court. And that's not a knock on him. I think that's actually a testament to his basketball IQ. I think I could do as much damage on the sideline as I could do on the court. I think if I was in the gym against the Clippers, coaching just there giving tidbits of advice, I think we win the game. I think there's certain players that have that could see things that maybe you're not seeing on the floor. I think Ori's one of them. So I don't think it's the biggest. It's not this big thing to the Jazz. Their piece is still Simon Brookeem. This is coming out for both of them. But the Pels win 2-1. Legit, they're legit. It's a legit win. If the Jazz win, they've proven that what I believe. But if they lose, what you believe, that Ori Schwartz is a bigger loss than anticipated, turns out to be true. Could be true.
Yeah. So I think that'll.
And the same goes, by the way, for this next game, this Clippers-Suns thing. This is a legitimizing game for both. The Clippers took a bad loss to the Lakers team that we think are certainly flawed. They took a bad win against the Kings team that was certainly underhanded. Are they going to come against the Suns team that we know could be good and take care of business and say, no. We're good on paper. We're good in real life. We're good. We're legitimized. Are the Suns on the flip side going to go, we got a lucky win in week 1 and Jack and Oren were right about us from day one that we are not that team? Or, hey, we took a bad loss to an obviously great Spurs team, but we are good and we're here. And this is kind of a make or break for both of these teams.
Gottlieb locks down on Heller. Clippers win by 15.
Gottlieb's a good defender. I'll take the Clippers as well. I think without Jake Goldberg to protect the rim, Mason's going to eat. I think the one thing you have to do against this team that the Lakers were able to do is give a good rim protection against Mason, Moshe Brum, and Hemi Alexander. Both were there to give Mason size. He had a bad game. Gottlieb had a good one. And I think without Jake Goldberg, the Suns will be hard pressed to stop that tandem. They have to play zone and they have to rebound. So,
right.
All right. Spurs beat up on the Mavs. This isn't a close one.
You think Spurs continue the momentum they have?
Yeah.
They're the only team without a loss now in the West. Look at that.
Yeah, well, they're playing us soon.
All right, mark your calendars. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Spurs win easy here. Nets Magic both teams who desperately need their first win.
I'm going to take the Magic.
You know what? I was high. You saw my preseason rankings. I was very high on the Magic going into the season. I think the Nets might win this one.
All right. We'll do a case of beer.
Yeah.
Miller Lite.
We'll see. It's in the old gym, so I'm going to be missing that game.
All right.
Bucks Cavs. I don't know. I'm thinking
Cavs. Give me the Bucks.
I'm thinking Cavs.
Nah. Look, Greenberg's a dog.
I don't know. I think the key matchup here will be Block against Schreier.
Yeah, I think Block could guard him. Give me the Bucks.
All right. So you have the Bucks going 2-1. I have the Cavs going 2-1. That should be a good game.
But this one could go either way. I think
I
think the Cavs are the 5th best team in the East. Behind those teams that we already established are great. But look, I think this is also legitimized. I think if the Cavs lose this one, we could chalk up. We don't know what the Magic are yet. So if the Magic lose to the Nets, maybe the Magic are this year's Nuggets, and that week 1 win doesn't mean much.
Right, yeah.
The Cavs lose to the Bucks, whatever. And if the Cavs beat the Bucks, we're like, yo, they're dogs. Got Greenberg. They have Schreier. They got Fuhrer, Polinsky. They got guys. They got bodies.
I think that's a good game to close out the week, frankly.
All right.
And that's your week 2 review and actually no, it's more of a week 2.5 review / preview.
Look, we could talk about, well, I guess we already talked about Lakers Warriors and all that. We talked about all of it.
Yeah.
And have a happy 4th to everybody. I'll try to get this up, but I'm not going to put it up until the Lakers agree to the switch, because I don't want them to now get mad at me for my takes on them and go, oh yeah, Turrell? Well, good luck in Los Angeles while Hammy is, try to stop Hammy now. B word. So
hold it as leverage. We want to wish a happy July 4th to all our viewers. We'll be back on Monday, Arab July 4th for some games, and then Wednesday to close out the week. And we're it's kind of crazy. We only started last week, and we're already in week 3 action. It's going to be mid season before you know it.
I think my word to everybody out there: don't let a soft Miller go off. That's my word. Your take of him as number 1 is 100% accurate. He's the best heat check guy in the league. When he gets going, he's better than everybody, including Zevi Samet. Don't let him go off. Don't let him get going. Don't let him get going. Don't let him get going. Don't let him see a shot go in. Don't let him get going. Don't let him get going.
Take it to the bank. Take it to the bank. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Have a good weekend.